Finally, item 12, comments from council members. Irene is going to give us a report on her attendance at the League of California Cities Annual Conference in Los Angeles.
Thank you. I brought back a stack of things, and I wanted to go over some of the topics that I attended, the different topics, I guess, and I want to particularly draw your attention to, for all those commissioners and council people and staff that have to fill in Form 700. There are new ethic laws this year that they've introduced. So the very first thing I did was take 2 hours of a ethics class. We often take it online, but if you can actually go to a class, it was quite interesting and a little more lively, because the person giving it was telling us about their run-in with the Fair Political Practices Commission and the trial they had to go through. So that was quite interesting. The next thing I went to was the general open session, and the keynote speaker had just written a book called If Mayors Ruled the World. Ta-da! By his name is Dr. Benjamin R. Barber,
Sharp guy.
and he was, and it was almost an hour of why mayors do it right, and why the Senate and the President even don't have they don't have the same kind of collaboration that mayors do. They don't have the same focus. They don't have the partisan issues that we see our Congress and Senate struggling with. So that was his focus, and if mayors ruled the world, which would be a wonderful thing. The next thing I went to was called, it was a keynote address given by Michael Pritchard, which some of you have seen. He's a stand-up comedian as well as many other things, but his emphasis was called team, and it's together, everyone and anyone matters. And so it was very inspiring about how we need to focus on each of us as well as the whole, and how we need to take care of each other. So that was great. The next thing I went to was called Bigger Than Fun, a fresh take on community building, which was given by the city manager and a director from Rancho Cordova. They were winners of the Helen Putnam Award, which all of you know about. And that was fun, and I brought back information about it. The next thing I did was enhancing neighborhood livability through the use of code enforcement. Receivership was another thing that I'll have to talk to the city attorney about. Sustainable development, the pathway to economic recovery, resilience and prosperity was the next class I went to. I went to a lot of classes. Then each of the 12 Helen Putnam Award winners had a brief summary was given about their programs when they received their awards. And then they also had displays in the exhibit hall, and so I went to each one of them and got their information, which I will share, but some of it was really something, we do some of it, but it was refreshing to see different groups in different cities and how they tackled their problems. One of them was Fontana Arts, Enriching Life Through Arts, and they did the programs. They spent an hour telling me about it, but the bottom line with them was it revitalized their neighborhoods and brought in, believe it or not, a 33% increase in their business, because they did a bunch of different art projects. So I'll do that. This one was the Vallejo Participation Budget Program, which is an award-winning program, and the Vallejo was the very first city in the United States to do this kind of budgeting, and I have brought it to the city manager's attention. It might be something that the San Bruno Foundation looks at, because they had a very inclusive, aggressively inclusive budget community input about how to spend money, and they had different programs that they did. Another one was Live Well Ferris, which was a city that did a lot of healthy kinds of activities with very little money, and decreased obesity. Their city clerk ran a Lose It, or Biggest Loser contest, and they had all sorts of things with that. And then I went to all the vendors, and they had Recycle Ready House, which is, we might post this because it's how each house can equip itself with recycling water, like dishwashing water and things like that, and be reused. So it was very informative. And then this was fun. This was about the dog parks and different things you can do at dog parks, and different things for bicycle racks, and solar energy, and almost done. And this, I want you to know you got your money's worth. This was for the employees. It's a club that they can belong to where they get discount tickets. And this one is extremely important that we'll be wrestling with. This is about stormwater and how you finance big projects, which we'll be doing. And I have more, but I won't go into that. And then I wanted to say two things. The other piece of all this, you sit in classes and you take notes and you talk to people and you go and you look at the vendors and you get information. But another piece is interacting with all the different council people and city managers that are out there, and over 400 cities were represented at the conference. And I make it a point of going to sit at tables during lunches and breakfasts where I don't know anybody. And by the time you finish talking to everyone, you've learned at least one thing from everyone. So it's a really exciting, vibrant, energizing thing to go to. Next year's is going to be here at San Jose, and I challenge all of us to go, and some of the city staff, and I hope you take me up on it. So that's what you got for your money.
Good report.
To the chair,
Irene?
to the vice mayor, Irene, it's inappropriate for today, but I'm just curious as to, what the other elected officials, the other communities, still know about San Bruno.
Actually, that's a good question, and a lot of people, you introduce yourself and they say, where are you from and where are you? And I say San Bruno, and they look at me and they say, oh. And 90% of the people who I introduced myself to knew what San Bruno was and why and how they knew it. Unfortunately, it is because of the explosion. And one gentleman was telling me he was in San Francisco when it happened, and he saw the plume of smoke and fire, and was terribly moved at the luncheon that we were at. He was almost moved to tears by it. So people do know us that way, unfortunately, but I'm working toward moving us beyond that and letting other people know we have other things to offer in San Bruno. So the other thing I have to say, my message to them was make sure your first responders know where the pipelines are and how to turn them off.
Great. Any other comments from council members?